right, so thank you for taking your time and being a part of Poly Role Models.
Happy to be here, Kevin.
Yeah, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Dr. Liz from sexpositivepsych.com. I am a psychologist, a coach, and a speaker, and I love working with folks who are non-monogamous and kinky and queer and helping people in general find ways to have great sex because great sex can change the world.
All right, so let's start up. How long have you been polyamorous or been practicing polyamory?
I had my first consensual non-monogamy relationship when I was 17. I was in a dating quad in high school. And I've been non-monogamous on and off since then, in different ways and different forms. I've been 100% not doing any monogamy since 2011. So we're looking like 6 years now that I'm coming up on, which is great.
And what does your current relationship dynamic look like?
Oh, this is such an interesting time to ask me that question. So right now, I identify as solo poly, and in general, for me, what that means is no one ever gets to tell me what to do with my heart, my time, my mind, or my body. I'm not currently seeing anyone seriously. I have some casual lovers, most of whom are long distance. The last person I was dating died just over 2 months ago, and so it's been a little challenging to think about dating since that happened.
What aspect of polyamory do you excel at?
I'm really good at compersion. I am naturally just great at compersion. I naturally don't have a lot of jealousy, and so I'm great at cheerleading my partners in all of the fun things that they want to do with other people.
And what aspects of polyamory do you struggle with?
I think one of the ones I struggle with, so I'll give a couple. So one is, as a solo poly person, it's tough to get people to take your relationship seriously because a lot of people have this misconception that solo poly means you don't ever want to do anything more than casual. And so I think that there is this way in which it's hard to communicate adequately to people that, I want a super serious, very intimate, committed relationship. I just don't want you to have any control over me. And then the other thing that I struggle with is just finding time. I'm a workaholic, and so I spend a ton of my time working on my business and figuring out what I want to do. This year, I was out of town for work almost as much as I was in town, so it's just been hard to find time to put people on my calendar.
Right. And so how do you address or overcome these struggles?
So for the first one, I am working hard on making solo poly more of a thing that people know about so that I can address those misconceptions, and I try to tell people directly what solo poly means for me and what it means I am or am not open to.
Welcome to Poly Role Models.
Right? Hey, Poly Role Models! Solo polys, not just for casual. And then for the latter one, there is this constant struggle when you're self-employed of figuring out how to have a work-life balance, which is something that I value and I think is very important, and I tell everyone else to do, and not panicking that if you stop working, you're going to be broke and not be able to afford food anymore. My practice and my business are finally getting to the point where I'm less am I going to be able to pay my bills this month, every month? And so I think it's easier to start focusing on setting aside time for other things. But it's still a thing I'm doing as a work in progress. I'm really good at putting things into my calendar, but unfortunately that has looked in the recent past like me scheduling dates a minimum of 6 weeks out, and it's hard to get excited for a date for 6 weeks. So I don't know, I'm still figuring it out.
All right. Well, in terms of risk-aware and safer sex, what do you and your partners do to protect one another?
So I definitely practice a risk-aware sex model. I get tested every 6 months for STIs. I'm a veteran, and so the VA does testing for me. And once I told them that I have sex with a lot of people, they're happy to do all of the tests. It's great. They don't do oral or anal swabs, which I'm going to try to educate them on, but I get all of the blood and urine tests, and then HPV is a little bit less frequent just because they don't tend to do those as often. I also use condoms for penetrative sex with toys or biococks. In group settings, I tend to use gloves for hand play. It's just easier that way, especially as someone who has a vulva and plays with people with vulvas. If I have a glove on one hand and not a glove on the other, I know which hand touches my pussy and which hand touches their pussy. So there's a lot less fluid going between us. Barriers for oral are negotiable, but I personally don't let bio dicks ejaculate in my mouth.
Right. Now, what is the worst mistake you've ever made in your polyamorous history, and how did you rebound from that?
So I think probably the worst mistake I made, I was dating this guy. It was when I lived in Savannah, and he was new to poly. And I tend to struggle in general with dating people who are new to poly because my expectations are pretty high and I'm super upfront and communicative, but I also tend to be sensitive to fuck-ups in ways that some other people aren't. So we had started dating, and I had been pretty clear, like, you can do whatever you want with other people, just let me know so I can make decisions about what I'm going to do with my body, given that information. And not once, not twice, but 3 separate times, he had sex with other people without using protection and didn't tell me about it. And so the first time I was like, hey, this is new to you. I'm sure this is a mistake. Let's just recommunicate this. In the future, just tell me if you fuck someone else. I think it's great that you're having sex with other people. Just fill me in. After the second time, I was like, I don't understand why you're not getting this. This is really simple. Let's rehash this. Here you go. These are the agreements that we have. Then the third time I flipped the fuck out because sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And I decided we were done. It was over. And then the thing I need to tell you is he had the most adorable dog I've ever seen. Violet is a treasure, and she is just such a sweet, darling puppy. And so we were getting together to have a conversation where I was going to just yell at him about what an asshole he was, but he brought Violet and started like talking all this talk about how he was going to work on stuff, and he had talked to these people, and like, it's going to be better, and he knows what he did, and he's going to fix it. And the person he had hooked up with was someone who was married, whose husband thought that she was monogamous with him. I had met the person I was dating through an atheist club, and she was a strict Catholic. And I was like, this is a terrible idea. But for some reason, I decided to give him a chance. And for me, giving him a chance looked like setting a bunch of traps. So I was like, here are the rules you will abide by to re-earn my trust. You have to text me when you get together with her and text me when you leave. She's allowed on your porch, but not inside your house. Like, all of this bullshit little, like, legislative stuff to give him opportunities to fail. And so, of course, every time he'd fail, I'd get pissed and create new rules. More opportunities, more traps, right? And after about 3 weeks of that, and me just, like, blowing up at him all the time, of course he kept failing, and of course he decided to just go back to doing what he was doing, and the relationship ended. What I learned is not that, like, he's a terrible person. He was shitty at poly, but what I learned is that you can't create rules to keep yourself safe. And if you're trying to give someone a chance to come back after a mess up, it has to be a real chance. It can't be you setting up an opportunity for them to fail again. You setting up the chance for them to just prove to you that they're exactly as bad as you think they are. It has to be a real chance or not a chance. And so since then, I've been much better about, like, if someone does something that I don't like or that I'm not a fan of, I instead ask myself, well, what are my boundaries given what I know about this person? So, like, in that situation, I think it would have been better for me if I'd said, okay, given that I know that he is going to hook up with other people and not use protection with them, what do I feel comfortable doing with him in those circumstances? Most likely the answer would have been, we can be friends. Maybe we can make out, but that's probably about the limit of what I'm willing to do. But instead of doing that and, like, taking responsibility on myself for, you know, respecting his choices and letting him do whatever that he wants to do, I tried to, like, rule him into non-existence, and that doesn't work.
That's a good learn.
Yeah.
So what's this is the optional one. What self-identities are important to you, and how do you feel like being polyamorous intersects with or affects these identities?
Oh, so I am queer. I'm a genderqueer woman. I am a disabled veteran. I am kinky. I'm a switch. And I think the ones that are easiest to intersect with polyamory in a lot of ways are being queer and being genderqueer. I live in San Francisco. In San Francisco, everyone's pretty savvy on genderqueer stuff, especially in the poly community. Everyone's pretty savvy on queer people and how queer people do things, so I don't tend to get a lot of blowback on those. But being disabled, especially someone with an invisible disability, I've had people from the very best place in their hearts tell me that I don't look disabled, or it must not be that bad, or since my disability is something that I was discharged from the military for, that I'm like military disabled, but not like regular people disabled.
Wow.
And again, it's coming from a good place of our internalized ableism telling us that disabled people are bad, or to be disabled is bad, and so they want to reassure me that I'm not that way and that that's not me. But I am disabled. I have chronic pain. I have very real limitations in my body. And then the most difficult one is being a veteran. I work in the sex field. You know, I'm a sex therapist. I present at sexuality conferences, and I've had people say some really heinous things to me because I'm a veteran, or say really heinous things about the military or veterans around me, not knowing that I am one of those people. Things like someone on Twitter told me that I was a genocidal murderer because I had served in the military. I had someone in one of my panels about military tell me that they think having military members or veterans at one of their classes would harm other attendees. Just their presence would harm other attendees. There's just been a lot of experiences I've had with people who don't understand military and are so completely disconnected from people who have served and from the military at large that they don't necessarily understand the impact of what they're saying. I am very public and out about being a veteran, and I still encounter a lot of people who don't know that about me. And I'm lucky in that I'm able to find people who are helping me change some of this culture in how we react to military and veterans in sex-positive communities, but it is still really challenging. And I wish that more folks would bring the kind of awareness to talking about military and veteran issues that they bring to other issues that we have in our community.
All right, and let's wrap it up with, do you have any groups, projects, websites, blogs, etc. that you are involved with that you would like to promote?
Okay, so shameless self-promotion. My website is sexpositivepsych.com. I have online classes at sexpositivepsych.teachable.com. The two that I have up as of the recording of this video are Nasty Naughty Negotiation, which is getting what you want in a way that's fun and sexy, and Your Erotic Voice, which is a 6-week deep dive into building the skills you need to find your voice and get what you want in the bedroom and beyond. I am currently working on a book called Building Open Relationships, and it's going to be a practical how-to, hands-on guide for doing this non-monogamy shit. It's going to have all of the worksheets and checklists you could dream of, and I'm so excited about it because it's going to be nerdy and practical. I love so many of the books that are out there, but they are so strongly theory-focused, and I want people to have tools they can use to dive in, have conversations with their partners, create their own safer sex kits, do the things that they need to do in order to be able to be successful in non-monogamy. I'm also a co-host on the Life on the Swing Set podcast, which is swingset.fm. What else do I do? Holy shit. I teach everywhere. I'm all over the internet. I'm on Twitter at sexpospsych. And if you check out my website, I try to keep it pretty up to date about what's going on with me.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time and being a part of Polyamory Models.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right.